Live is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, Norml.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of Norml Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of Norml. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. Then it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to think and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents Norml Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, Norml's outreach coordinator, Radical Russ.
Good day, tokers and tokettes, and welcome. It's the weekend. It's Friday, March 2nd, 2012, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. We're really glad you could join us for our Happiness, Sunshine, Light, and Joy show. We're just going to be Happiness, Sunshine, Light, and Joy. Don John's here in the studio with me. How you doing, John?
You must have not wanted me here today.
No, you're alive, man.
I am
Happiness,
alive.
Sunshine, Joy, and light.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that later. We've also got Cannabis Carrie, who has overcome the internet difficulties and is on a regular landline phone with us. How you doing, Carrie?
I'm doing okay. How do I sound?
Well, you don't sound as good as you do on the Skype. It's not as crystal clear.
Right.
But we can hear you just fine, so it's going to be...
And they are working on my internet today. They promised me it would be back up today. It might even be, like, back on right now. I just missed the cutoff for the show. So Monday we should be back on track.
All right, fantastic. So Carrie does our hemp headlines. She's our senior news editor, and we get to that right after this first break. So, Carrie, what's in the news today?
Well, today I have a story about a bill in Colorado that is hoping to protect some marijuana industry workers. Also, this really cool story for World Cannabis News headlines. A town in Spain that is considering leasing a large part of its land to grow cannabis. Plus, first up, we're going to tell you about a marijuana grow-op that was busted up in Washington State today, where they found something other than marijuana. That all coming up in today's hemp headlines.
All right, cool. I'm going to follow that up with a couple stories I found. A terrible story about a mom getting busted for child abuse having to do with marijuana, and a story out of Mesa, Arizona on drug DUIs. This is going to be a big subject over the next few months, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Then coming up later on the show, we've got Herb Thrasher joining us for Rockin' Friday. He's going to bring us some music from Hellbound Glory. Then at half past, we talk to Paul Armentano, Norml's deputy director. He's going to give us a look at the state legislative update, let us know what's happening all across the United States in marijuana law reform. And then at the end of the show, time for a radical rant. I'm going to take a look at the need for real data in the marijuana debates and give you the tools you need to actually look up this data. Stick around. It's all coming up next.
You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hi, I'm Radical Russ. One of the best things about marijuana is the wonderful aroma. But when you travel a lot like I do, that aroma becomes a suspicious smell. That's why I endorse stealth-products.com, the leaders in smell-proof containers. From smell-proof vacuum bags to smell-proof backpacks and duffel bags, all the way to smell-proof digital safes, stealth-products.com has you covered. Stealth-products.com brings you safe, secure, odorless layers of protection with activated carbon fiber. Backpacks and duffel bags are simple black so as not to attract attention with a logo or a flashy design. Now, nothing is perfectly odor controlled from the detection of drug dogs, but with proper vigilance, containers from stealth-products.com will help you avoid nosy humans.
You're now listening to Elliot Beats.
Stealth-products.com. Stealth-products.com.
This is Norml Show Live.
Weedmaps.com. I'm Radical Russ from Norml. In my job as outreach coordinator, I travel every month, and when I'm on the road, I need a fast, accurate way to find the medical marijuana dispensaries in the area. So I turn to weedmaps.com. Weedmaps.com has the best dispensary locator online or on your mobile device. Search by zip code or let Weedmaps find you, and in seconds you'll have the addresses, phone numbers, and customer service reviews for the medical marijuana dispensaries in the local area. Weedmaps.com also has a section devoted to helping you find a doctor who understands and recommends medical marijuana under your state's law. You can even check prices on the Medical Marijuana Stock Exchange. Coming soon, you'll even be able to find the listings of Norml attorneys and chapters, local head shops and grow shops, and the best weed-friendly businesses. Weedmaps.com has the information you need to be an informed cannabis consumer. Visit Weedmaps.com today, a proud sponsor of the Norml Network.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's Norml News with Cannabis Carrie.
This is a bummer. A search warrant in Linwood, Washington, a community roughly in the Seattle area, was served this morning, and they turned up marijuana plants along with explosives and firearms, according to police. Snohomish County Sheriff deputies served the search warrant about 8:30 a.m. this morning, and it turned up about 100 plants along with what is believed to be C4 plastic explosives and some high-power firearms. The Sheriff's Bureau Chief, Kevin Prentice, said that it was a military-style explosives and not the kind you might typically find in someone's home. Because of the explosives found on the scene of the marijuana growing operation, the Washington State Patrol Bomb Squad also assisted the Sheriff's Department today, along with the Regional Drug Task Force. A 26-year-old from nearby Edmonds, Washington, was arrested and booked for manufacturing a controlled substance with intent to deliver. More charges are expected.
Well, that leads me to the question, what kind of explosives are typically found in people's homes? The military-grade explosives not typically found in people's homes. Oh, okay. John, do you got a lot of well, maybe I shouldn't ask you.
I don't. Well, small explosives.
Small, yeah, like firecrackers or
yeah, something like that. But I mean, nothing like C4. I imagine what they mean is something that you couldn't just make.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Military-grade C4 explosives. And, you know, the thing about a story like this that bugs me is that, as a citizen, I don't want people with military-grade explosives storing them in the neighborhood.
No.
I think that's generally a bad idea. And while I support people's right to bear arms and protect themselves, there is a point from which it goes to, all right, I'm going to stop an intruder from coming into my home, to that paranoid fantasy, you know, assault weapon going to take down a charging army kind of level, right? So I don't want a lot of that in the neighborhoods either. So it bugs me when these stories come up because I want to see that stopped. But when it comes up in the context of, oh, and we found plants, the public naturally jumps to this, oh, geez, you know, marijuana's dangerous and these dangerous people have all these explosives. No, this guy had explosives and he happened to be growing pot. The pot is the least dangerous thing about what's going on there. So every time a story like this comes up, it just bugs me because I know how the general public's going to look at it. But really, the pot is just incidental here.
And a bill pending in Colorado, the Colorado legislature would cut some marijuana industry workers some slack. Those working in the medical marijuana industry in Colorado face constant scrutiny from the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division, oftentimes law enforcement and media. A proposal in the progressive cannabis state of Colorado would make the nation's first responsible medical marijuana vendor designations for businesses to be able to send their employees through training on how to spot fake cards and other pitfalls of selling a partially legal commodity. The training would allow dispensaries and other cannabis businesses some slack if they face regulation violations. It shows that they are in good faith trying to uphold the medical marijuana laws of the state. Companies that can show that they put all of their employees through the responsible vendor training program would get a break if they face state sanctions for a regulatory mistake later. The Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division already has a requirement that anyone working with medical marijuana undergo a background check, wear a state-issued badge, and be under video surveillance anytime they are handling seeds or plants or any other cannabis products. Now, a similar program is already in place for companies that sell alcohol in the state of Colorado. Brian Vicente, the head of Sensible Colorado, says he supports the bill and called it another attempt by the industry to further establish regulation and responsibility. The bill is awaiting a Senate committee hearing.
All right. Well, this sounds, more and more like marijuana becoming mainstreamed. I know guys that work as clerks in liquor stores, alcohol, when they're selling beers in grocery stores and such. They have these classes they can go to, these weak hard classes that help them to better follow the law and be responsible about how they're distributing alcohol. So why wouldn't we want to have something like that for marijuana? And I just love it. I love to see more and more of this becoming, just no big deal. And typical regulations that people have to follow. I mean, there's a certain segment of the cannabis community that doesn't like this. They kind of bristle and resist any sort of regulation or, having to get up at certain times or punch a clock or anything like that. And I understand that, but you have to understand that's the transition that's going to happen. It's inevitable. Marijuana is going to become legalized. It is going to become just like any other commodity that is taxed, that is regulated, whose dispensers have to be trained and so forth. So I welcome this. I'm glad to see that we're moving in this direction. And let's see if we can get this legal, completely legal in Colorado in 2012 to see this kind of responsible legislation extended to the entire cannabis community.
And the small country town of Rasquera in Catalonia, Spain, is seeking to put a dent in their unemployment crisis and their town debt by leasing out some land the city owns for the purpose of growing marijuana. The Town Hall Council voted to sign a $1.7 million agreement with the Cannabis Users Association in the nearby city of Barcelona. They're looking for a place to plant marijuana for its roughly 5,000-member association. They are hoping to plant on over 17 acres of land in the small town of less than 1,000 residents. The mayor told the town hall meeting that it was a chance for the town to bring in money and create jobs. Still, some residents that attended that packed town hall meeting, you can only imagine this week, worried that it may make their small township a mecca for drug use. The town has sought legal advice to make sure that it doesn't break any of Spain's ambiguous and liberal cannabis laws. The Barcelona Personal Use Cannabis Association says that they will be planting more than just cannabis, but they will also be rotating in crops of cereal and sugar beet as well as cannabis to supply their members. According to The Guardian, clubs like the Barcelona Personal Use Cannabis Club is just one of a growing number of private clubs that are in a legal gray area and set up some collectives similar to the collectives that are set up in medical marijuana states in the U.S. Members pay fees, and in turn those fees go towards growing costs to grow the marijuana that is then sold back to the members at a great price to help offset growing and operation costs. The Barcelona Personal Use Cannabis Club will pay the town about $860,000 a year for the right to grow cannabis in the town. Rasquera, with a population of only 920, will also get to fill about 40 jobs on the cannabis farm. It would allow the town to pay off its $1.7 million in debt in under 2 years. A second Barcelona Cannabis Club is also in talks with the tiny town. They have 7,000 members and are looking for a similar deal. The mayor of Rasquera, Benet Palisa, of the Catalan Republic Left Party, admitted that they do have a few projects in the wings. Another would be to supply seeds to Spain's growing number of seed supply shops. If a second deal is made, it would turn the town of Rasquera, that is traditionally known for growing olives, almonds, and raising sheep, into the largest legal supplier of cannabis in Europe. Mayor Palisa has contacted the local police about the project, and they said that they are consulting their lawyers. But he says that the town will demand sovereignty on the issue. The town has agreed to set up a committee to draw up protocols on security and risk control. We will keep an eye on this tiny little town, and we might even be booking our reservations for next year. Who knows?
I know. I've been watching these videos on Cannabis Cure TV. He's been out at Spanibus, the big hemp and cannabis festival out there in Spain. Of course, we have Jorge Cervantes TV. He's from Barcelona. He's broadcasting or streaming from Barcelona when he does those shows. So Spain, as far as Europe goes, is kind of a mecca for cannabis enthusiasts, and not surprising with their treatment of cannabis. Is much more liberal than most European countries. And now to see this town, doing the sensible thing and realizing the economic opportunity, the tax revenues, the jobs that can be created from cannabis, we are going to continue to see, if we continue in America to hold on to our prohibition, we're going to see more and more of these countries in Europe, in South America, and other places, Latin America, deciding to end their wars on drugs, realizing they don't have the resources to just endlessly spend and lock people up in prisons. And we are going to continue to get more and more examples like Portugal, like the Netherlands, that help us make the case for legalization here in the United States. I would just rather that it were Denver and Seattle with legalized marijuana making the cases for Barcelona and the Netherlands. That would be the way I'd like to see it happen. All right, thanks, Kerry, for that news. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you on the net again come Monday. Now, in other news that I have found when I was looking around the net today, there was a story here, just a very brief news blurb, but it made me want to comment on it. It's from WSAW.com in, I believe it's in Wisconsin. And just very simple one-line thing here. Merrill woman, a woman from Merrill, Wisconsin, accused of blowing marijuana smoke in baby's face. And the explanation here is a Merrill woman is facing 4 charges, including neglecting a child after she allegedly blew marijuana smoke in her 6-month-old child's face. Now, when it comes to a story like this, there's 2 angles to look at it. One is, was there any actual harm involved here? And the likelihood of that is no. Secondhand smoke from marijuana does not contain very much THC at all. Blowing it in a kid's face is not the end of the world. It's not going to cause them serious, lasting harm or even temporary harm, for that matter. So in that respect, when and let's not forget that there could be all sorts of reasons why you might want to medicate a little baby with the use of cannabis smoke, for pain or for whatever reasons. That, I believe, should be under the purview of a doctor, though. It shouldn't just be people, deciding to blow smoke in their kid's face. I think you ought to, consult with a physician on that. But that's one angle. The fact that, okay, it's really not actually going to harm that kid that much. The other angle, though, is the public relations angle of this. While we know that the marijuana smoke is not that harmful, remember out there in the real world, it's a Schedule I narcotic. It's a drug that people believe is as bad as heroin. Okay? So when they get a story like this on the news and they got this 19-year-old mom who's accused of blowing smoke in the baby's face, that to most people, to them, they picture that as the worst kind of child abuse, almost as bad as, physically beating the kid, or to some people it might even consider it to be worse. And so it makes it more difficult as we continue to fight for legalization for these stories to pop up, and they're going to pop up. So we've got to do our best to frame these as the best way we can, to understand that while we might have sympathy for the mom, and it may be unfair that she's being charged this way for what she did to her kid, it's not an unexpected charge. Be smarter than that. Don't be doing those kind of things. Don't get yourself in that kind of trouble. It's not worth it. All right, another story that we've got here on the net, medical marijuana and prescriptions boost the number of drug DUIs in Mesa, Arizona. This is from the East Valley Tribune in Mesa, Arizona, and it leads by saying Mesa police are arresting more drivers for drug impairment, saying prescription drug abuse and Arizona's medical marijuana law are contributing to the problem. Drug DUIs now make up a majority of impaired driving arrests in Mesa for the first time. The number of drug-impaired drivers has grown for years, but it has spiked more recently, said Mesa Sergeant David Maiki. 52% of DUIs issued last year in the city were for drugs. Quote, "For us to think that there's more people out there driving on drugs than alcohol is startling," he said. "It's harder to detect a drug-impaired person than an alcohol-impaired person," end quote. Marijuana impairment has grown over time, he said, but it accelerated as Arizona was debating the 2010 ballot measure that legalized medical marijuana and boomed after its success. All right, let me just clarify and reiterate what's going on here. There is not a boost in more people driving under prescription drugs or driving under the influence of marijuana. What there is an increased focus by law enforcement to go after those people. This is coming straight from the drug czar himself. It's one of their big campaigns this year, is to not tolerate drugged driving. They're trying to make this a big focus, and you're going to see more and more of these stories in the news as we go through the rest of this year. It's a big publicity push. Just remember that when we're talking about these drug DUIs, in a lot of cases, we're talking about people that are getting busted on per se statutes for urine, where we're talking about metabolites in their urine that can last for weeks or even months in in some cases after someone has used. So don't give them a whole lot of credence. And remember, all this continues until we can get marijuana legalized and we can fight for real testing and real data of marijuana drivers to better make our case on these impairment statistics.
What do you think about a marijuana break?
I think a marijuana break on a marijuana show at 420 is absolutely apropos. We'll be right back after this.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Norml Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would send you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stop arresting law-abiding citizens because they prefer marijuana over alcohol. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges. We're unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people each year simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They're average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact Norml, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today, we take you into the weekend with Rockin' Friday. Our segment features the best of rock, metal, punk, and jam band music. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Norml Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker
All
Tunes.
right, time for some Rockin' Friday as March is coming in like a lion. And who else is coming in like a lion? Herb Thrasher. How you doing, Herb?
Cheers, everyone. Happy 420.
Happy 420 to you, man. Now, I know last week when we did Normal Rocks with Herb Thrasher, you had a Hellbilly show lined up and then had to shuffle it at the last minute. So does that mean tonight we get the Hellbilly show?
Tonight is the Hellbilly show, man. We're bringing it strong, man. I know everyone out there is thinking that it's just all about kind of shit kickers, wearing shit kickers and chewing tobacco and talking about Jesus, and you know what? It's not. That is all wrong. These hellbilly, outlaw, bluegrass dudes have all kinds of stuff going on, and we're going to bring it to you, man. I'm real excited. Have some new music.
Yeah. I'll tell you, growing up and playing music in Idaho, one of the fun things I always got to do was go to the Old Time Fiddlers contest in Weiser, and then they had a like a harmonica competition up in Yellow Pine, I think it was Yellow Pine, something like that. But anyway, these backwoods, out of the ways, nowhere places with guys wearing overalls with big bushy beards and a big piece of straw sitting out and then just picking their ass off. Just the most knocked out musicians and some really good weed. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's right. That's exactly what's going on. And now, though, dude, that has actually sprawled into those dudes are not wearing the overalls anymore, dude. They're wearing black. They're wearing leather.
Yeah.
They're wearing tattoos. And it's just a whole different attitude to this music. And with you bringing this attitude into that music, it's a whole different extreme now. And yeah, dude, it has that same like fun feel, but with an attitude now. And this is a growing music, and so we're going to definitely explore that, and not just like from one band. We've got a few, 5, 6 different kinds of bands lined up, and I'm real excited to bring this to you guys.
Right on, folks. Check that out tonight live right here at Rolla J Studios, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Norml Rocks with Herb Thrasher. You can also pick it up on YouTube at Norml Rocks, or you can get the iTunes subscription for the podcast. Just look for Norml Rocks in the search there. So I would assume that means we're going to get a little Hellbilly here for our song for Rockin' Friday?
That's right. And one more fun thing for tonight is we're going to air our interview with the Johnson Creek Stranglers. And they're a local hellbilly music band. But one of the cool things, or I thought anyway, is I asked them, you know, what is hellbilly? What's the definition? And they gave me their definition, and they didn't know it, but I called their butts on it because I had printed out the definition of it from the Urban Dictionary. And so I called them on it. So we'll get to see how that plays out. It was real fun, and get to see how the definition from the computer translates to their true hellbilly definition.
Right on, right on.
And so on that note, yes, we're definitely going to give a treat right here and give a little sample of the kind of music we've got going tonight. And so as their name alludes, Hellbound Glory is well on their way to proving that they are a force to be reckoned in the country music world. Fusing superior songwriting and hard-livened characters with a hard-edged country honky-tonk sound. The group is known for its instrumental dexterity, while vivaciously frontman Leroy and his comrades are also notorious for their down-home, good-old-boy attitude. This type of attitude and songwriting chops to back it up have won over fans far and wide. Whether they are playing in front of 200 or 2,000, Hellbound Glory delivers on their performance and leaves audiences begging for more as they envelop into the crowd with Leroy's powerful storytelling and showmanship. The song Hellbound Glory is an awesome example of the band taking strings and using them as a musical weapon. Performing country on the outlaw side isn't easy for most, and Hellbound Glory seem to have mastered it. Sometimes everyone has a little outlaw in them.
Yeah.
So roll on up, folks, and return to glory with Hellbound Glory. You guys can check them out on their website, hellboundglory.com, and on their MySpace. Keep rocking, and see you guys tonight on Norml Rocks.
Said he was looking for a coal shoveling man. You work for me, son, I'll pay him mighty well with a check address from hell. Said, Mr. Devilman, your deal sounds fine. Tell me one thing before I sign dotted line. If I go working for you, rolling down that track, how will I ever make it back? He said, we're going riding on a hellbound train. Hellbound glory, yeah, that's his thing. God just in how to pile on that coal and watch the wheels roll.
Hey, tokers and tokettes, this is Radical Russ from Norml Show Live. We're proud to be the voice of the marijuana nation and proud to have you on our team. Now, you can represent NSL in your own Norml Show Live gear from handmadeapparel.biz. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel is one of us and a huge supporter of our show. He's designed the classic blockhead line of NSL shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Worn by Radical Russ, Cannabis Carry, and Ganja John on the show and at live events, the designs feature their iconic logos and the "It's got to be 420 somewhere in the world" tagline. Proceeds directly benefit Norml Show Live and HandmadeApparel.biz, one of our community's strongest supporters. You can also get your Cannabis Cure UK, Ganja John Show, Irie Island Hour, and more gear from the Norml Network at HandmadeApparel.biz. Visit HandmadeApparel.biz today.
I smell pot coming from over here and grilled onions from over there. Two of my favorite smells ever. Both those onions and that pot smell really good up here, you know.
Catch Norml News with Cannabis Carry every weekday on Norml Show Live at 7 p.m. Eastern, here on the Norml Network.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact Norml, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Norml has been the place to go for the latest studies and news on marijuana science, policy, and activism. For over a decade, one man at Norml has written and reviewed more studies and news stories regarding marijuana than most anyone on the planet. First as senior policy analyst and now as deputy director, Norml's Paul Amintano has written for major newspapers, academic journals, and magazines on the subject of cannabis and is frequently requested as an expert witness in the courtroom. His knowledge and experience are an amazing asset to the cannabis community. Available to you now in a segment we call Behind the Headlines with Paul Armentano.
All right, we go back to the Bay Area to visit with Paul, as we do every couple of weeks, to get updated on what's happening in marijuana law reform at the legislative level. So, Paul, welcome back.
Good to be here, Russ.
All right, so we covered a lot of states last week. I believe there's 6 of them that we covered last week. We've got 3 or 4 to cover today. In total, do you have an estimate of how many states right now are doing something with marijuana reform across the nation?
There's about 30 states that have bills in play pertaining to marijuana, and the overwhelming majority of those states have legislation in play that is sympathetic to marijuana law reform. And then there's a handful of states that have bad bills floating around, although in most cases we don't see those bills getting a whole lot of traction.
Yeah, the only thing I'm sensing gaining any traction that it's really bad for us is this push for drug testing for welfare. I saw something like 23 states are proposing that. And what do you think is going to happen with this? I know when they did it in Michigan, it was declared unconstitutional, but what do you think is the outcome of this?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but looking at past cases, I think that the courts are going to continue to uphold this policy as unconstitutional. This isn't a new idea, this notion that states can tie state benefits to drug testing, and there are several instances over the past few years where states have proposed this sort of legislation, and the courts have fairly consistently struck it down.
Yeah, between that, I think we need to point out that these are going to get stricken by courts as unconstitutional, but also to point out that the population that they're testing tends to test at lower rates than does the general population, and they tend to spend more money reimbursing the people who pass the tests than they would save in money they wouldn't give out to the people who failed the test. So economically, as far as that goes, it doesn't work. It doesn't work scientifically. It just doesn't work, and I hope we continue to fight those. All right, let's go to the state legislation. First up on the plate here is New Hampshire, taking a look at medical marijuana, and give us the details on that.
This is a bill that was just introduced. It's Senate Bill 409, and it has its first hearing this coming Thursday before the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services. Unlike the bill that was introduced a couple years ago and ultimately vetoed by the governor, this bill does not mandate that the state get involved in the licensing of marijuana production distribution. I think that the proponents of this initiative have sort of looked around at the current political climate and looked at what's going on in New Jersey and Delaware and realized that's probably not politically feasible right now. And instead, this is a basic medical marijuana defense bill that says if you're a qualified patient, you can possess marijuana and you can grow marijuana for your own medical need. And my understanding is that proponents believe that this is the year that not only do they have majority support in both chambers in New Hampshire, but they actually have supermajority support, and they can simply take the governor and factor him out of this equation because they believe they have the votes to override what most likely would be his veto.
Yeah, is this the same governor who had vetoed previously?
Yes.
Oh, okay, and Democratic governor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, John Lynch. And in the past efforts also allowed for home grow, those provisions were struck due to concerns that were expressed by the governor. So then when lawmakers tried to appeal to the governor's concerns, and he went ahead and vetoed the bill anyway, I think proponents this time around are simply saying, we're going to write the sort of bill that we think is most practical, and we're not going to have the governor's concerns play much of a factor, because I think, as I said, proponents believe that they have the votes, if need be, to override it.
Yeah, it would be nice to see an East Coast state get a medical law with the provision of home growing, because the last, 3 or 4 have not had that.
Yes, exactly.
All right. And that's New Hampshire Senate Bill 409. And as usual, you can go to norml.org and check out our pages on activism to be able to get in touch with that. It's capwiz.com/normal2/issues if you want to go directly to it.
And in fact, if people go to the front page now and they simply see the green box on the upper right-hand corner, if they click on the ACT button, that's going to take them directly to that page. So we have a shortcut now so people can get to that page more readily.
Excellent. ACT. Do something. Activism starts with ACT. All right. The next one we've got up here is Connecticut. And, we just reported on Connecticut and how their arrests had dropped significantly since they've passed their decriminalization last year. What else are they trying to do in Connecticut?
Well, folks probably remember the incoming governor last year, Daniel Malloy, said that not only did he favor decriminalizing marijuana for personal use, but he also said that he was in favor of the medical use of marijuana. And there was a bill introduced last year that got quite far through the legislative session before eventually failing to get off the floor prior to the end of the session. Well, medical marijuana has been reintroduced in Connecticut. Our folks on the ground, and particularly Eric Williams, who heads our Connecticut Norml affiliate, has been involved in this process every step of the way, including in the drafting process of the language. And the bill is raised Bill 5389, and it is scheduled for its first hearing also next week on Wednesday. This is still a work in progress. This is actually fairly typical. We saw this last year in Connecticut, where bills are initially introduced, and in many ways they're just in the form of a shell, and as the measure goes through hearings and debate, more and more amendments get added to the legislation. And we fully expect that over the course of debate regarding this bill, we're hopeful to get more favorable amendments added to this measure.
All right. That sounds great. And again, the support there, just go to norml.org and click on ACT if you want to get involved there in Connecticut. We've also got something happening in Rhode Island. What's going on there in the Bay State?
Well, there's a lot of press coming out of Rhode Island. I'm not quite clear why, in fact, it's getting so much attention. But folks may have saw some wire stories over the last couple of days saying that the governor and lawmakers had reached an agreement on compromise legislation to allow for dispensaries in Rhode Island. And most certainly I have seen the bill that was recently introduced in Rhode Island to allow for dispensaries. What's curious to me is that Rhode Island state law already allows for dispensaries, and there seems to be very little difference between what the current law and regulations are in Rhode Island regarding dispensaries and what this new language proposes. But either way, the upshot is that now we have Governor Chafee on record saying he's going to move forward with allowing the state to license medical marijuana dispensaries, which would be a reversal from his stance just a few months ago when he suspended Rhode Island a medical marijuana dispensary program. So it looks like all in all, this should be good news for individuals in Rhode Island that the governor now seems content to let these dispensaries that had already been licensed by the Department of Health to finally move forward and hopefully open in the state of Rhode Island.
This just in, the governor of Rhode Island plans on following the law.
Exactly.
I guess that's the story. Okay. Kind of sad when following the law is news. And it's interesting to me, too, is that they have 3 dispensaries that they're going to institute there in Rhode Island, a state that's, 50 square miles? Whereas in New Jersey, they're proposing 6 for the entire state, which is much larger and much more populated. It's just such a patchwork of these different medical marijuana laws, don't you think?
Oh, well, it most certainly is. If I recall, in Vermont, they're proposing 6 as well. And, the District of Columbia has a larger population, the entire state of Vermont.
Yeah.
So, as you said, these numbers are oftentimes, they're arbitrary numbers. They're picked almost at random by lawmakers.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as legalization goes, we reported a couple weeks ago on Massachusetts putting forth a legalization bill. Maryland has some hearings going on as well. Can you update us on those?
Sure. Maryland has a number of medical marijuana bills that have been introduced. One of those bills is going to be having a hearing on Friday, March 9th. I believe that Norml's executive director, Alan St. Pierre, will be among those testifying in favor of the legislation. And, of course, as longtime listeners know, Maryland has had an ongoing battle politically to try and enact some form of medical marijuana legislation. This is about the 5th or 6th go-round, and it's still uncertain whether lawmakers in Maryland are comfortable moving in this direction, even though now this is an issue they have debated now for many, many years. They've had several work study committees, but it's still unclear where the consensus lies as far as how far Maryland politicians want to go. In Massachusetts, there's also a hearing that's coming up next week. It's going to be on Tuesday, and this is in favor of House Bill 1371, which is a measure that was introduced last year, carried over into this year's session, and it seeks to tax and regulate the commercial production and distribution and retail sale of marijuana to those aged 21 and over, and it seeks to legalize the possession of marijuana by those 21 and older.
All right, good news there. And speaking of legalization, we got the great news at the beginning of this week about Colorado certifying for the ballot their Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol initiative. Have you gotten any information or polling about that yet? Any data you can tell us about this legalization in Colorado?
I haven't seen any recent polling on the initiative. I'm sure there will be some very soon. Generally, the local media in these states conduct their own polls, and they love to poll on this issue of legalization, particularly when these initiatives make the ballot. I'm excited about the prospects of this passing in Colorado. I'm excited about what this bill is seeking to do. This is a measure that, if it were to be passed in November, would make the possession of up to an ounce of marijuana subject to no civil penalty, no criminal penalty, and that would take effect immediately. It would take effect the very next day. It would also allow for anyone over age 21 to grow limited amounts of marijuana in their home. It allows for up to 6 plants of home cultivation. That would be legal activity under state law the very next day. So in short, the personal possession of marijuana, whether you're possessing the actual marijuana flowers or you're growing marijuana, that will no longer under state law be deemed contraband. That is a very significant change. The measure also looks forward and says within a year after its passage, the state's got to come up with regulations regarding the commercial production and distribution and retail sale of marijuana. So that is something that's intended to be addressed down the road. But I'm really pleased with the fact that if voters in Colorado approve this, the very next day, possessing an ounce of marijuana or growing up to 6 plants in your home, if you're over 21, will be legal activity in the state of Colorado.
Now, the last time they tried a vote on legalization in Colorado was 2006, which was an off-year election, and it got 41% on the ballot. Do you think that it's got to have a better chance this time around to pass than 41%?
These are two very different campaigns. The campaign in 2006 was driven by the group SAFER, and it was really the brain trust of Mason DeVert and Steve Fox. But it was legitimately a grassroots campaign. There was very little money behind that campaign. There was money to get the signatures and put it on the ballot, but there was virtually no money to actually fund a campaign. This effort is entirely different. The proponents of this campaign have polling that they're basing their decisions on. They have some marketing research. They're going to have advertisements. This is going to be a much higher profile campaign. I think there's going to be much greater public awareness about it. There is a much broader coalition supporting this effort, including virtually every major drug policy reform organization, but a number of non-drug policy reform organizations on the ground. There's former high-ranking politicians backing this effort. And, of course, as you said, the public opinion regarding this issue, even in just the last 5 years, has shifted dramatically nationally. So I think there are a lot of factors that are in play in 2012 that were not in play in 2006 that can really alter the outcome of this measure.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think among them is, Colorado having its medical marijuana enforcement division, it becoming more, regulated and mainstreamed and normal, and people driving through Denver seeing dispensaries every corner or so, realizing that, what the hell, let's just legalize this and get it over with. I think there's going to be that effect too.
Yeah, and I should make a note, because Colorado does have a system of regulation regarding the medical use of marijuana, that this proposed initiative does not make any amendments to the existing medical marijuana law, but it does broaden protections regarding the non-medical use of marijuana.
All right, well, that's good news all around, and it's perfect for our happiness, sunshine, light, and joy episode. So, Paul Armentano, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks, get some more updates.
Okay, thank you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at data on the web. Stick around for a lesson.
You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
And now, another episode of Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre. I'm your host, Leonard Pinth-Garnell III. Tonight we take a look at one of the finest works in the cannabis cinema, 1996's Half-Baked, starring David Chappelle, as interpreted by the Royal Shakespearean Cannabis Theatre Company. In this scene, Chappelle's character, Thurgood Marshall, has just admitted his addiction to cannabis to a room full of narcotics addicts. One addict, played in the film by Robert Saget, and interpreted here by the Royal Company's Sir Frederick Farrark, takes umbrage at the suggestion.
I find preposterous the notion that you, sir, may be addicted to cannabis. In times previous, I have undertaken lubricious endeavours, most revolting and unbecoming of a proper gentleman, in my servitude to the wicked powder of the coca leaf. Lo, that is an addiction whose chains would bind Hercules. At any point in history, history, could one identify a moment in your life so sullied by your ignominy as a cannabis slave? Methinks not. Boo this man!
For Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre, I'm Leonard Pinthgarnell III.
Ever wonder how often to change your bong water? The most effective method for baking pot brownies? The best destinations for a ganja getaway? How to hide herb in your car? Whether to grow your own? How precisely to legalize it? Or how something as wonderful as marijuana ever got to be illegal in the first place? Finally, you can find all these answers and much more in the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, featuring 420 things to do when you're stoned. Since 1974, High Times magazine has covered marijuana in all its aspects and wonders, from cultivation to legalization to the herb's enduring and exalted place in popular culture. Packed with inside information, the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook rolls all of this collected wisdom together into a single indispensable ganja guide, including an entertaining look at marijuana's history, profiles of herb-friendly travel destinations and festivals, favorite potluck recipes from the High Times staff, smoking skills, advocacy and activism, essential marijuana movies and songs, profiles of famous cannabis strains, comprehensive growing information, celebrity endorsements, and much more. This is truly, finally, the ultimate guide to green living.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And I am serious, and you can handle the truth. And if you want to find the truth in your marijuana debates, I've got a lot of resources for you. One of the things that's kind of gotten on my nerves over this past week debating with various people about various marijuana things is how many people will come into a debate and start talking about studies and science and things and be absolutely wrong on what they're saying. So I want to make sure if you're going to go out there and debate that you've got the right information. And I want to help you do that by taking a look at a few websites. Now, let me move the cursor over here to this window, and we're going to start at the Norml.org website. If you haven't visited Norml.org, well, how the hell did you get here? But anyway, if you're not visiting Norml.org, you're really missing out, because this is where you can find a whole bunch of great information on marijuana. Now, the first site that I'm going to here, I'm going to widen it just a bit for you, is our state laws page. And on the state laws page, you can get there real easy. Just go to Norml.org/laws. And what you'll get is this map of the United States, and you can go to any state you want to find out what your state laws are. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see the specific subsections of penalties and drug driving and hemp and medical marijuana and tax stamps. But just for a quick example, let me give you one that might shock you. State of Utah. We're going to go over there to the state of Utah, click on that. I just wanted you to realize that in the state of Utah, possession of up to a pound of marijuana is only a misdemeanor. That's right, Utah, possession of a pound is only misdemeanor. Now, to go back, right here in Oregon.
There is a reason why we drive through Utah.
Now, we go back to Oregon. Oregon, you know, where it's a hippy-dippy love of ganja. Yeah. Oregon, we'll click on that one. In Oregon, possession of an ounce or more is a Class B felony.
So we go from a ticket to a Class B felony.
A ticket to a Class B felony, right? Ticket less than an ounce, Class B felony more than an ounce. So that just shows you that even in marijuana states, you know, that you would think are typically, you know, cool on pot, no, there's a lot of work still to be done. Another place that you should be taking a look at is Norml's research library, and you can find this at norml.org/library. And there's links to my big book, which I'm still fleshing out. There'll be more and more stuff coming up here. Arrest reports, all the info you need on driving in marijuana, the economic studies that have been done on, you know, how much money we could make by ending prohibition, the health reports. And I'm going to focus on this health reports one because this one by Paul Armentano, if you haven't seen this one, you got to go to this. The recent research on medical marijuana, cannabinoids for cancer hope, cannabis and mental health. This is the stuff you need to read and need to know if you're going to be an informed activist on these issues. So check it out at norml.org/library. Now, another place that you should be checking out are some of the resources that are provided by your tax dollars by our federal government. And one of them is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, otherwise known as SAMHSA, and their specific Substance Abuse and Mental Health Data Archive, known as SAMHDA. SAMHDA. Now, it's a big, long website address, but don't worry about that. Just type in SAMHDA into Google, and you'll find this. Now, what we have here in SAMHDA are a series, this first place is called Quick Tables. And what the quick tables allow you to do is to be able to just find some basic data off of 4 data sets, these health behavior in school-age children, National Survey on Drug Use and Health, and the treatment episode data set, admissions and discharges. Basically, that's, the kids, the first one is the kids. What about the children? The second one is everyone, the National Survey on Drugs. And the last 2 are drug rehab stats. Treatment episode data set is what that's called, TEDS, for admissions and discharges from rehab. So, for a quick example, suppose you just wanted to know how many people smoked pot this month. Well, that would be something that would come under the National Survey of Drug Use and Health. And you can go all the way back. It goes from 2010 all the way back to 2001. You can sample that by just the children. What about the children? 12 to 17, or the entire sample, if you like. And so let's pick this 2010 entire sample. And there's all sorts of drugs you can look up. Cigarettes, alcohol, cocaine, crack, heroin, and so on. There's marijuana use. We'll choose that one. And here are the options. What do you want to know? Whether someone ever used marijuana? Well, if you open that one up, you'll find recency of marijuana use, or number of days used marijuana in the past 12 months. Let's check that one out. How many people used marijuana in the past 12 months? And then we can break it down, currently breaking down by gender. We could break it down by age group, or educational attainment, or pregnancy, or race and ethnicity. Let's try age group. Now, the rest of this you can ignore. Confidence intervals have to do with some statistical validity. Chart options and just whether or not you want to create a chart. I'm just going to turn that off for now. And down at the bottom, you can create the table. And the next thing you know, you've got how many people used marijuana, how often in the past 12 months, broken down by age. And what we have here is we are seeing that from age 12 to 17, 85, almost 86% haven't smoked pot. 18 to 25, 70% haven't smoked pot, and so forth. Or you can look down 1 to 5 days in the past 12 months, 6 to 10 days in the past 12 months. I'm going to go down here to the chronic tokers. More than 100 days of use in the past 12 months. Well, 12.9% of people aged 18 to 25 are smoking pot more than twice a week. That's 1 in 8 people aged 18 to 25. Now, if we go to the next level, 7.4% of people 26 to 34, and 3.2% of people aged 35 to 49. And if you don't want these percentages, you can always get information by figuring out what's called the weighted N. Now, the weighted N is the estimate of how many people that applies to. So if you took this 3.2% times this 62.6 million, that would give you an estimate of how many people in the United States of that age are smoking pot more than twice a week. These and other data are all available at these quick tables, and it's really, I know a lot of people, when you get to statistics, they get a lot of math fear going on. A lot of people don't want to dig into it. But if you're going to make these arguments, it behooves you to be educated on the statistics and the facts that that you're using to make your point. Now, I'm going to continue this in hour 2 in Toker Talk Radio, and we'll continue the video record so that people watching this on video can follow along, because I think this is really important. I think this is important for us to know how to find our own answers, and I want to teach you how to do it. So stick around. We'll take it into hour 2. I'm Radical Russ for Ganja John and Cannabis Carry. Thanks for joining us this week. We really appreciate it. All sorts of great shows coming up on the Norml Network later tonight, including Hemp Radio and THC The Highcast, followed by Norml Rocks with Herb Thrasher, where we're going to be doing it live, and we're made of metal. So thanks, everybody. It's been an interesting week. We'll see you next week. Oh, by the way, next week, no shows on Thursday or Friday, as I will be traveling to Houston to debate Dr. Kevin Sabat, the drug warrior. So we'll see you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is Norml Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it on one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it,
in the blunt, 100% cannabis, medical puffs. It's the granddaddy perks, break it down and stuff in the baby pack, hey, don't crumble it up. Feeling the blunt with the perks in the blunt, 100% cannabis, medical puffs. It's the granddaddy perks, break it down and stuff in the baby pack, hey, don't crumble it up. This hobby's my schoolwork, homie, give me my assignment. And sometimes that can lead to consolidatory confinement. My mental's open up and then my
You're listening to the Norml Network, where the time is 4:20, 24/7, 365.
That's right, sunshine. Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. In my life. Welcome to Toker Talk Radio. And you know what you can do. You can toke, you can talk, you can talk, you can toke. You know, that's how it works. You get the gist.
Wow.
John's having trouble toking and talking.
A little bit. Sometimes.
So before I get back into the data lesson,
yeah,
you got to hang out with Danny Tanner last night.
I did. I don't like to name drop, but Full House is Danny Tanner. Yes.
The Full House is Danny Tanner.
Yeah.
Folks who don't know, we're talking Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Who was the guy in Half Baked who said, you know, I used to suck dick for Coke money. That was Bob Saget, in case you're forgetting. Or if you forgot from the... He originally did the Funniest Home Video Show, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was the original guy. And for those of you who only know him from Full House or that, y'all don't know
That's
Saget. Because the guy's dirty.
He's very dirty.
Dirty comic, man.
Hilarious,
though.
I didn't think he was that funny.
Really?
No.
Oh, I saw some stand-up.
Nice guy, but he doesn't, you know... when you've been doing that job for so long, you don't give it your all.
I get your point.
But it was a Thursday show.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, Thursdays are you know, generally your night to kind of call it in. But it was a second show on a Thursday. I mean, he did good. I mean, the crowd loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hypercritical of comedy.
I'll bet. And you know, it's, you know, from seeing so much, I just like me, I can't, it's hard for me to go see bands.
Well, you know what? I don't have patience. You probably see this like when you see a new band and they're using these riffs that are 50 years old.
Yeah, it's like deedly 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 deedly. I've heard that one.
Yeah, he's telling jokes that are 50 years old.
I see.
You know what I mean? But they're just reworked. And you know, some people do that, and I love it. John Lovitz did that, and it worked great.
Yeah.
But you know,
I was like, it was on Letterman the other night. Tom Hanks doing old Buddy Hackett jokes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I'm freezing here.
But I mean, it was a good show. You should. I would tell people to go check it out. But it's sold out.
You know,
for the next 3 days.
I gotta think that, you know, with a few notable exceptions, becoming a celebrity might kind of hinder being a stand-up.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people doing it backwards too nowadays, where they were famous for one thing, like John Lovitz. He came to stand up later.
Yeah.
Tom Green came to stand up at the end. Is coming to stand up at the end of his career, not the end of his career, but now presently in his career. And I mean, it's interesting to see him do it. Sometimes they do great, and sometimes they're not so great. But, you know, like I said, I'm hypercritical of comedy, and if I've heard the same joke before, I don't want to hear it again.
Right.
Unless it's from the same comic, you know.
Right,
really,
right.
You know what I mean? And so, it's just, a lot of old Don Rickles stuff I'd heard before.
Sure.
Bob Saget is like a white Don Rickles. That's what Ian Carmel said, yeah.
There we go. That's just in. But I would think, and I think about like the stereotype of the tortured comedian,
right,
laughing on the outside, crying on the inside. And
that's a lot of them around Portland.
Well, I think about that stereotype, and I think that like if all you've got is just your retelling and reaction to the horribleness of life, then if you become famous and now life isn't that horrible,
it's kind of hard to get.
It's hard to get back to where you're at.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, when the indie crowd always says, well, I liked their first few albums until they sold out.
Right.
Then they sucked. It's that kind of thing. So,
and I mean, I don't know. I can imagine, too, doing a job like that. His career turned around when on a theater screen someone saw him say, I suck dick for coke. That was the second it turned around.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pinpoint it to that moment. He went from being G-rated to being R-rated, and he never looked back.
Yeah.
And, I could understand that, but now he's got a weird kind of... I mean, it was genius. He got this group of people who grew up watching him to follow him later in life. That is genius.
Yeah.
That's, from a business standpoint, fucking huzzah. That is amazing.
Yeah.
But, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So, it's working good for him, though. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Real nice guy. But, yeah, it was fun.
Well, there we go. The Adventures of Ganja John in Comedy Land. That's awesome.
Yeah, tonight I'm hanging out with someone that you probably haven't heard of, Sean Patton, a comedian who's coming to Portland for Funny Over Everything with Ian Carmel and Sean Jordan over at the Hollywood Theater. So that should be fun. If you're in Portland, come check that out tonight.
Yeah, Portland comedy right now is like Seattle grunge in the 90s, man. It's like it's just burgeoning. It's just busting.
It really is. Like, there's L.A. and New York will always be comedy towns, but Portland is becoming the huge new comedy town. Bridgetown Comedy Festival is in its 4th year this year, and they're just about to announce their schedule. But last year it was phenomenal, and it's cool because you can see Margaret Cho in a 20-person theater.
Awesome.
Which,
That's
is
cool.
once in a lifetime chance.
Yeah. So. All right. So we will talk about that. When we come back, I'm going to do more of the data online, give you some more ways of finding out the facts about marijuana when you're making these arguments. So stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Radical Russ. One of the best things about marijuana is the wonderful aroma. But when you travel a lot like I do, that aroma becomes a suspicious smell. That's why I endorse stealth-products.com, the leaders in smell-proof containers. From smell-proof vacuum bags to smell-proof backpacks and duffel bags, all the way to smell-proof digital safes, stealth-products.com has you covered. Stealth-products.com brings you safe, secure, odorless layers of protection with activated carbon fiber. Backpacks and duffel bags are simple black so as not to attract attention with a logo or flashy design. Now, nothing is perfectly odor controlled from the detection of drug dogs, but with proper vigilance, containers from stealth-products.com will help you avoid nosy humans.
You're now listening to Elliot Beats.
Stealth-products.com. Stealth-products.com.
You get me too high. I overanalyze. If you've ever been too high, then you can sympathize. You get me too high. And I start to fly if I said some silly thing, and that's the reason why. Shiva, my
Hey, in a completely straight way, I dedicate this song. This is my
Straight
Ganja
way.
John song.
A straight way.
Yeah, this is my song dedicated to Ganja John.
I like that.
You get me too high.
We're hetero life mates.
That's right. Get me too high.
We need a hetero life mates Russ and John t-shirt.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I'm old enough to be your dad.
I know. That's
Am I?
okay.
What do you think? You're 26?
You would have been 18.
I've been 18.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Yep, that's entirely theoretically possible.
Yeah. I have a friend who had his son at 15.
Ooh.
He's about 30 now, and his son's 15.
Weird.
And it's more like they're friends.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Than anything else.
I bet. That's a trip.
Yeah.
And I've got friends now who are getting their first grandbabies.
Yeah,
And that's
crazy.
just like, oh my God. There's an advantage of being childless that allows you to kind of freeze yourself in time.
Yeah, it
to
is kind of.
respect.
I mean, I can still listen to music and not feel like a dork.
Not me.
Like new music, you know.
No, I passed that around. I'm going to say 2001 or 2002.
This is where you were
I
just
dropped
like,
off
I'm
of
done.
hip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gone from hip. I was no longer like now. You know, you could. You put the Billboard Top 10 in front of me, and I wouldn't know a single name on it. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I know who Katy Perry is. That's about it.
And that's because of the boobies.
Well, you know, we all have to have priorities.
Yeah. I have a theory on why she's beautiful, but we'll talk about that on the Ganja John show.
There we go. There we go. I have a theory too, and it has to do with anime.
Do you think so?
Yeah, she looks like anime, doesn't she? She's got big old eyes that totally ridiculously out,
Yeah,
figure.
like her figures, she's very voluptuous. She's
Very
curvy.
anime, I think.
But I think what it is, and you'll think about this for a while. It's black hair and blue eyes.
Oh yeah,
it's
no
rare,
doubt. No doubt.
and it's what people are looking for constantly
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Okay, there's that definitely black hair, blue eyes.
Because like think of anyone, like think of most Zooey Deschanel, black hair, blue eyes.
There you go.
Beautiful chick.
All right. Well, now we know.
But I mean, they're not. If you took that away from them, they wouldn't be too spectacular on their own. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well,
I like boobs.
We'll examine it on the Ganja John show.
We'll have to.
All right, let me get back to some of the data stuff that we were looking at. If you caught us in hour one here, we were looking at the national, the analyzing data online. Oh, I've got all these effects up. I got to take those down. Hold on now. That didn't help anybody. There we go. All right. So we looked at all these different things that you can look up on the SAMHDA, S-A-M-H-D-A, and things like number of days that you've used marijuana and so on. So all sorts of things that you can find out just in this general look. You know, how many people have ever used marijuana, and we'll go by gender, right? Actually, let's go by race and ethnicity. This might shock you, or maybe not, but race and ethnicity, who has ever used pot? And it is mostly white folks. Well, wait a minute. I think we're losing out to the Native Americans. 45.9% of white folks have tried pot, compared to 40.7% of black African Americans, compared to 47.2% of Native Americans or Alaskan Natives. Now, we got to talk to Kaliko about this, because only 26.2% of Hawaiians, Native Hawaiians or Pacific Islanders, have smoked pot. Really? And then Asians, only 19.2%. Mixed race, more than one race, 53%. The only majority that has, in racial or ethnic demographics, that has tried pot are those who are more than one race. Barack Obama, I'm looking your way. And then Hispanics, 30.6%. So I always point to this, when people say, people bring up Cheech and Chong, Harold and Kumar, or Friday as your typical stoners. Not really. Harold and Kumar are your least typical stoners. Cheech is a less typical stoner. And the guys from Fridays, not as much typical stoners as, say, Jeff Spicoli, right? Or Slater,
yeah.
right? So,
I'm going to go ahead and say I have never smoked with a Native American, Alaskan Native.
Okay.
I have never smoked with an Asian male. I've
Yeah.
smoked with many Asian females.
Okay.
I think that's it. Everything else I have covered.
You've got it covered. You are the Benetton.
I have even I'm the Benetton of bongs. The Benetton of bongs. I love it.
All right. Mark it down. Somebody write that down. Ooh. And of course, we can also do these with charts too, like, a little stack bar chart here, or pie charts. Pie charts would be good for this one. So create a table with the pie charts, and you get the same data, right? But then there you get these nice little pie charts of who's used, who has, and who has not, right? So this is just the quick tables. Now that gives you some very broad information. But if you want to get more detailed information, SAMHDA actually lets you get right into the heart of the data. And it's the part called Analyzing Data Online. So if you remember SAMHDA, S-A-M-H-D-A, then along the side, you'll see their sidebar here, and that's where you can find Analyzing Data Online, right? Now this one, oh my God, this is a treasure trove. To quote Ed McMahon, everything you could possibly want to know about drugs or statistics about drugs is in this chart. So, right over the young people. All right, so the Drug Abuse Warning
I got
Network.
it. I was just taking a hit.
That's an indie vape. Oh, I love the indie vape. So the Drug Abuse Warning Network, that is when the hospitals keep track of who got brought in for drug abuse. Health behavior in school-age children, monitoring the future, some of these we've talked about before. Other studies, alcohol drug screening studies, things going back to the 1990s, if you really want to go that far back. So tons of stuff. But let's stick to the top here, where we had that national survey on drug use and health. That's the one we looked at before on the quick tables that told us how many people smoke pot by what race, or how many people smokes pot by which age, and so on. Well, here we go. Let's get into the national survey for 2010. Now, what you get when you get to this level is you are now getting to the actual variables within the test. And this is on the left-hand side here, under where you see it called variable selection. And they break them down in all these subjects: identification, core substance, and so forth. Now, this can be really intimidating, because when you open one of these up, like core substance use, well, all right, there's the tobacco. Okay, not so bad so far, right? Tobacco, marijuana, crack, and so on. All right, open up marijuana, and then bam, you get all these different variables and these funny-looking codes. But don't let it freak you out. It's really pretty easy if you just think about what it's saying. Marijuana ever, MJ ever. Have you ever used marijuana or hash? The age at which you used marijuana or hash, and so forth. But let's say we want to know how many people are smoking pot how many times per year, so that we can find out how many bona fide daily tokers are there. How many daily tokers? Well, back on that quick table, we can't find that out. Quick table only tells you within the month or within the year or ever. And that's what we're finding here too, right? Month, year, or ever. So there's a series in here called imputed substance use. Now, imputed means implied, or based on these answers, we could logically deduce this, right? So imputed substance use is going to give us recency, past year frequency, past month frequency, and so on. So if we open up this past year frequency, again, we're trying to find out how many daily pot smokers last year. Daily. All right, we can go down that. We got marijuana frequency. I'll read the rest of that. Marijuana frequency in the past year. Imputation revised. All right, let's try that one. Now, what you do is you take this IRMJFY, that's the code for it. And if we scroll a little bit down here, you'll see a section here where we can copy that to the row. Now, that's this portion over here on the side. Whenever you do these data things, you got to have a row. You got to have at least a row to be able to get some data out. So we're going to copy that to the row, IRMJFY. And that's all you need. The rest of it's all optional. Don't have to worry about anything else on this thing. Just pick that, for the row. There's a couple others I've done before. And scroll down to the bottom. And again, you can add graphs and bar charts. I got that over here on the right here. You can add bar charts and stuff, but we're not going to worry about that. And just run the table. Bam. When this table comes back, it shows us, all right, you're looking at that variable, IRMJFY, which is marijuana frequency in the past year. And as we scroll down, this table will show us from 1 to 365 what people answered on how much they smoke pot. Wow. And it turns out that only 1.8% of pot smokers, of the 29 million annual pot smokers, say that they've smoked pot every day in the past year. So, wow. You and me?
Yeah.
We're not in the 99%, man.
No, we're not.
We're in the 1%.
We're the 1%.
The 1%, man. We're in the 1%.
I'm the 1% of pot smokers.
I like these people that answered 364. Like, oh, I missed a day.
Just one day.
Just one day. And, how do people, know? Does anybody really keep track? Yes, on October 17th, I didn't smoke pot, and on April 10th, I didn't smoke pot. So that makes 363. I don't know that anybody really does that.
I would honestly be able to tell you if I missed a day. I mean, I've missed days.
Sure.
But there's certain days that stand out where I've missed it.
So by looking at this, now the numbers we're getting here also, this is 0.0 or 0.1, 0.4. That's like the percentage. Now here's at 180, right? So that's like people that are smoking pot at least every other day.
Yeah.
Right? Or so, 182 I guess would be more accurate. But that's getting 1.4% of all pot smokers, a total of almost 400,000 pot smokers. So you can look at these data and so, oh, okay, so for the people smoking pot all year, there's only 500,000 of us.
Yeah.
If we count the ones who only missed a day, well, now there's 2.3 million of us. So, I always like to point out, and this is really, as we get into these debates about, who or who isn't going to be hurt by a certain bill or whatever, let's point out that, there's 2.3 million of us in America that are smoking pot every day.
Yeah.
2.3 million.
There's a lot of people.
Now, when we break this down, we'll break it down further, but you know what? It's way too close to time for us to smoke, so let's get to that.
Smoke time. We'll be back after this, guys.
All right, stick around. Time for an indie vape.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Norml Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215. Or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
I'm not very good at singing songs, but here's a try.
If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch.
Yes, I do. That sounds good.
You must first invent the universe.
Damn! I knew it was going to have a catch. I ain't got time to invent the universe, Carl. I just want a damn apple pie. Jeez.
One universe. Have you ever seen? I have that card sitting in our recipes.
What's that?
The Carl Sagan's recipe for an apple pie.
Oh.
It's just a regular apple pie recipe, but it calls for one universe.
There we go. Yeah. I like that. Welcome back to Toker Talk Radio, folks. Let me get the screen back to our data stuff. And that's kind of cool. We get Carl Sagan on here while I'm showing off data, so that's always good. All right, so we're back. And what we had done previously was find out how many people are smoking marijuana day by day by day over the course of a year. Let's take a look at how many of what age group are doing that. And that's where we start getting into this part on the screen that's called the selection filters, right? And if you want to find age, that's another one of these variables on the side here. Under, I believe, demographics, core demographics, and age 2. Now, if you try to do this, like age 2, you would think that age would be like, oh, okay, if I want to find out who's, 18 years old, put in 18. I wished it worked that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The way these are coded is almost everything that you put in fits a category somewhere, right? Like you're in the 18 to 25 or you're the 26 to 30. So you have to kind of look it up to find out what numbers they're talking about. And here's how you do that. Remember how we put IRM JFY up here and just found out, the marijuana thing? Well, you can do that with any variable. So if I take that out and put age 2 into it and run that table, well, now I'm going to know that the range of possibilities are 1 to 17. Now, I know they can't be talking about 1-year-olds to 17-year-olds. That doesn't make any sense. So if you scroll down, you'll see what it is. 1 is someone who's 12. 2 is someone who's 13, and so on. And then as it gets older, it gets up to number 10 is people who are 21. But after 21, they just start breaking it down into groups. 22 or 23, 24 or 25. Then the groups get bigger. 26 to 39, 30 to 34. Till finally, number 17 is just people 65 or older. So, trying to answer these questions again, you got to know what the possibilities are. So, let's find out. How many people aged, let's say 18 to 21 are smoking pot every day? All right, well, 18 is 7, and 21 is 10. So we're trying to figure out all the people of age 2 that's between 7 and 10. So we go back to build our table. We'll just put the IRM back up in there, the one that we used before. We'll put the age 2 down here, age 2, and go with 7 through 10 on that. The numbers we want. So what this is doing is saying, all right, give me that, how much marijuana every, how many days they said they used it, but only for those people. And then run it, and we have our answer. So, oops, that's per month. Picked the wrong variable. JFY was the one I wanted, not JFM. Gosh, John, why didn't you stop me? Everybody knows it's JFY.
I want to know how many 12-year-olds are smoking every day.
All right, we'll find that out. So as we get down here for IFM JFY, people aged 18 to 21 smoking every day is 88,000.
88,000.
Or 1.5% of all people who smoke marijuana that year who are aged 18 to 20.
So you can do this for any drug.
Any drug, any age, and we're just looking at age. I mean, you can do this for race, you can do this for educational attainment, whether or not they're married. I could tell you how many female Puerto Ricans who are pregnant, well, not Puerto Ricans, Hispanics, female Hispanics who are pregnant smoked pot in the past month 14 times or more. I mean, you can get to any level you want to get. You just have to know how to ask the question. And you got to know what the variables are. And is there a quick and easy guide that tells you? No. That would be too easy. No, what I've done to get to this level is like, what the hell is Milstat? Well, let's put Milstat in and see what it is. Okay, put in Milstat up in there and run it. I don't even know what Milstat is. I'm really guessing this for the first time. So Milstat is whether or not they're in the military, in the reserves, or separated from the active duty. So you can find, all sorts of stuff in this. So check that out. That's at SAMHDA again. That's the SAMHDA, using the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. But there's all sorts of other things that you can look up, and plenty of data in there.
People are telling you got to write it up.
I will someday.
Yeah.
In my spare time. So the next,
he doesn't have any of that, guys.
The next website I wanted to show you is ballotpedia.org. Ballotpedia.org. This is like a Wikipedia of just ballot measures.
Wow.
And so they've got a specific page called Marijuana on the Ballot that keeps track of every marijuana initiative, whether it was decrim, legalization, or medical, in every state that has ever tried one. They've even got a few things in here, like just a section on Dennis Perone, on People v. Kelly, and so on. Idaho Medical Choice Act is in there. So all of the initiatives that have ever been tried, Oregon's Measure 57, well, not ever, because it doesn't. I don't see them going back into like the 80s and the 70s here, but it's all recently within the internet era. They're all here. So if there's anything you want to know about, if someone says, like, for example, I had it was in an argument the other day with someone who said, well, 66. Oh, it's Steve D'Angelo, as a matter of fact, who said 66% of the people voted for medical marijuana. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. So I went over here to California's Prop 215, the Medical Marijuana Initiative, on Ballotpedia, and it very quickly told me that, well, not very quickly, right down here, that it was passed by 55.58%. Well, that's close to 66.
Yeah.
It's like, look, if you're going to make arguments in the media, especially,
make them right.
You got to have the right argument. I can respect a disagreement on analysis of something, but I cannot respect and will not tolerate misrepresentation of the facts.
Yeah.
You have your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. So I encourage people to check out Ballotpedia for those facts. The next website, and we're just going to breeze through these real quick because done enough learning, but this is a website called procon.org, and they have a web place there, medicalmarijuana.procon.org, with all sorts of links here on the public policy issues of medical marijuana, the different diseases and conditions, its medical value, its risks, and so forth. And I have found so much great information on this that I, even some stuff that I didn't find, tell you the truth, on the Norml site that was really very interesting. So check that one out. All sorts of good stuff, medicalmarijuana.procon.org. And finally, the FBI. Yes, the FBI's website at fbi.gov. One website you should know about is the uniform crime reports that you find at Crime in the United States. And what this is useful for is on that page, you will find the drug arrests. How many drug arrests are, the percentage of drug arrests. Now, you have to do the math yourself. So, like, at the top here, it will tell you that there were, let's see, where's the drug arrests? It's higher up in this list. But they say how many drug arrests there were in one of these lines. There it is, drug abuse. The highest number of arrests for drug abuse violations estimated at 1.638 million. Okay, so 1.6 million drug arrests. So if you take that number, the 1.638 million, you can then multiply it into these percentages here for how many people were for sale or manufacturing of marijuana. 6.3%. 6.3% of all the arrests were for sales of marijuana, whereas 45.8% of all drug arrests were just for possession.
Yeah.
And we want to stop that for sure. Other things that you can find out here, a lot of the DUI debate is going on right now. And if we scroll to the right here, you'll find the raw data tables of crime in the United States. And I'm just going to scroll down to this last one. Now, they do have a guide for this one. They do have a table guide to tell you what's in each table.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you hover on them, it'll tell you. But arrests by state. So picking out arrests by state gives us a very large table where we can see that every state, we'll start with Alabama there, for juveniles under 18 or for everyone combined. And this goes from everything from all arrests, all arrests in Alabama, 155,000 that year, to separating by violent versus property crime, all the way across here. And you can get into DUI and some other. I have to scroll down all the way there to get the rest of them, sorry. But let me get that across. There we go. We'll put it back up there. So all the way across to finally the last couple of columns where there are the drunkenness and the driving under the influence numbers. So if you need those in any of these debates coming up, this is where you find it. FBI.gov, crime in the United States. So there you have it, a look at some of the data that are available on the web for those of you trying to make these arguments. Thanks for joining us for Norml Show Live's coverage of that. And if you got any questions on this, you can always send me an email, just russ@norml.org. I love helping people that are researching, college students, even high school students. I'll help you get data, absolutely. Send me an email at russ@norml.org, and I'd be glad to help out. All right, folks, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll shift gears here. I got some reefer madness to take a look at, and more chat for the weekend as we get ready. So, see you in a minute.
Alternative Medical Choices offers healthcare the way it should be. Easy to access, patient-centered, team-based, and quality-focused. We offer a variety of natural, affordable healthcare treatment options like primary care, group acupuncture, massage, and assistance with OMP registration. As a patient, you will have a team of experts working with you to make you the best you can be. Call Alternative Medical Choices at 503-288-5579 or check us out on the web at altmedchoices.com.
they trouble me. No, I would have just flash me thing. Bubble you, they bubble me. Yes, you know, forward in a me ring. Trouble you, they trouble me. No, I would have just flash me thing. Bubble you, they bubble me. Yes, you know, forward in a me ring. You deserve it. Some man just born to nice up dance. Doba. See man locked down in tight romance, yeah. The essence of ice fills the air, yeah. You're free to look, but don't you dare stare. Hear this, trouble you, they trouble me. No, I would have just flash me thing. Bubble you, they bubble me. Yes, you know, forward in a me ring. Trouble you, they trouble me. No,
I have half a mind to just leave the green screen up. It's so cool. I think I will. All right, welcome back to Toker Talk Radio. I mentioned some Reefer Madness I wanted to bring up. It's commentary, but in the Christian Science Monitor, and it caught me because I saw the name on the link, and it was John Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of did a double take, like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, no, not that John
Not
Hughes.
that John
He's
Hughes.
dead. So let's get, no, some other John Hughes. And here's his tagline on this. His headline is, GOP candidates need to debate legalizing marijuana. The GOP candidates need to debate legalizing marijuana, which would be awesome to see, especially with Ron Paul up there, right?
Yeah,
you'd have Mitt, you'd have, what's his name, Santorum, and Newt, and
Ron Paul. Who knows something about
this and would actually destroy them in a debate on this. That would be cool to see. But his follow-up line, his lead here is, as GOP candidates debate values, I have not heard them address legalizing marijuana. The words of a narcotics agent ring in my ears. I can't say every pot smoker goes on to get hooked on the hard stuff, but I can say every addict I know on the hard stuff got started on pot. Yeah, the good old gateway theory. Oh, Kaliko. Kaliko calling in on the cell phone there. I'll meet you. But yeah, so this guy, here we go. Once again, it's 2012, and they're still trotting out the tired old gateway theory. I can't say every tricycle owner I've ever known goes on to join the Hells Angels, but I can say every Hells Angel I've ever known got started on a tricycle. It's just as logical. It just makes no sense. They're looking through the wrong end of the binoculars, man. Of every person who ever smokes pot, and again, back to that SAMDA thing, that's something you can whip out on the quick tables real quick.
That's right. Whip it out on the table, guys. Whip out your SAMDA.
Whip out your SAMDA, and on those tables, look up how many people who have ever smoked pot. It's about 100 million. Then go look up how many people have used cocaine or heroin in the past year. And what you find is there's about 2 million, give or take, regular cocaine or heroin users. That means for 100 million people who tried pot, 2 million are using coke or heroin now. That's 1 out of 50. 1 out of 50 pot smokers is using, people who've ever smoked pot. Regularly is using coke or heroin regularly. So if this is a gateway, it is the smallest gate ever, and it only opens 1 out of 50 days. So, it's just ridiculous. I mean, and for someone to post that in supposedly a serious, forum, with the lack of understanding of basic logic, that's the thing that bothers me in a lot of these arguments. This John Hughes, Christian Science Monitor. There you go. That's all I have on that. I just bugged me. Oh, I know what I can talk about. in town today, right now, we've got representatives of the Norml Women's Alliance.
Yes.
Kendra Miller, who I believe is, am I right that she's now a Norml board member?
I believe, yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So Norml board member Kendra Miller, who's also with the Norml Women's Alliance, and Sabrina Fendrick, who is the coordinator of the Norml Women's Alliance, and she's on Norml staff. She's one of my coworkers. They're in town this weekend. And tomorrow, they will be part of a letter writing campaign and Norml Women's Alliance social at Alternative Medical Choices from noon to 4 here in Portland, Oregon. So the ladies are getting together and they're having a luncheon thing.
We're not invited.
No, it's a girls' club.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's going on tomorrow, noon to 4. And I'm sure they will talk about it on A Different View tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I actually might have to throw you that Tascam recorder so you can get some get some audio, or so Iva can get audio with Sabrina.
That's a good idea.
And Kendra.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
All right.
I got to record some comedy shows this weekend with Todd. Todd
Right.
is at Harvey's this weekend, and he's going to do some recording for his CD.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty
this
stoked
will
on
be
it.
his first CD.
It will be his first CD.
Any ideas of a title?
Son of a Cletus.
Son of a Cletus. And grandson of a Cletus.
And grandson of a Cletus.
There's a lot of Cleti in that family.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's something we're working on. I've never done live recordings before, so it'll be interesting to record live and then to mix it and, all that jazz. So I'm excited. It'll be a new experience.
Yeah.
And then that'll segue into May, we're going to record Todd's DVD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's going to be fun stuff.
Like I said, folks, it's taken off here in Portland, Oregon when it comes to the comedy stuff going on. As I mentioned earlier, not this weekend, thank God, not this weekend. Next weekend, I am flying to Houston, Texas to debate Dr. Kevin Sabat, PhD. He was a former advisor to drug czar Gil Kurlikowski, worked for the ONDCP, and now I think I don't know if he's working for a think tank or if he's working for something that's associated with drug rehab industry, I think.
I'm sure.
Not sure exactly what it is, but I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, debating Kevin Sabat at the James E. Baker III Institute for Public Policy at Rice University in Houston, Texas. This is like this is my coming out party in a sense.
Yeah, this is your Comedy Central special.
This is my Comedy Central special, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
This is my 8 minutes on Carson, if you want to date back to an earlier reference. Hopefully Carson asks me to come sit down.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I get to debate Kevin Sabat there in a serious public policy forum. No Potleaf hat, no Radical Russ. It'll just be Russ Belville.
Yeah.
I get to debate Kevin Sabat on this thing, and I get 20 minutes, he gets 20 minutes, and there's a 20-minute Q&A. So I am going to focus my 20 minutes on his arguments because I already know what they are.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to, and I hope I get to go first. My hope is that I get to go first, and then he has to try to explain his way out of why, like, he's spending his time defending his arguments against me already tearing them apart.
Right.
Or better, I get to go second and tear all apart his arguments that he just made. Because really, I'm of this opinion now that we don't have to argue why we should legalize. They have to argue why we should continue prohibition.
Yeah.
They have to argue.
Really.
They have to defend the status quo. And Sabat's thing, he's one of these kinder, gentler guys. Like, oh no, we shouldn't be locking people up. That's terrible. But really, we only lock up the people involved with the hardcore trafficking and which is a lie. And we should have more treatment and drug courts and all that. It's like, oh, so instead of bars and cage, I have to go to a rehab I don't need.
Yeah.
So it's a kinder, gentler punishment, but it's still a punishment. It's still
bars
something
are
I
on
need.
the outside of the windows instead of the inside of the windows.
Yeah, really. Really. So I don't need none of that. So anyway, that'll be going on March 9th. I hope to have live streaming of it. If not, I hope to, I will record it and bring it to you on the show. But that means no shows Thursday or Friday because I'm flying out Thursday. Rick Steves will be there Thursday, and I think he's giving a talk, and then we're all having like a VIP dinner afterward. And then the next day is the day-long conference. So I'll be checking that out. We got a call coming in here, so let's go to the phones. We got someone from our own area code, 503. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio. What's on your mind?
Hey, Russ. This is Steve. Hi, on Drive. I just sent you guys an email. Costco's doing a poll now to legalize marijuana, and Ethan got a two-bit slot in that magazine as well. But Norml is mentioned as one of the contact points for more information.
Right on. This is Costco's what, magazine?
The magazine they send out every month. Yeah, I was really shocked to see that.
Well, I think maybe they sense there's some money to be made there.
It could be. You think we could have it at Costco someday, eh?
Well, you know, I don't think that we're going to have it at Costco. I don't think marijuana will ever be sold at Costco. But I think that the hydroponic industry and the grow industry, there's a completely untapped market there. Because if I could go there and buy a hood for less than $100, and I could go in there and buy, you know, my lights on the regular, just like I buy my ink or anything like that, it could open up a whole garden center for Costco's in reality.
I can just see it. And those little boxes, you know, that they made out of the reflective material that have all the zippers on them that you could put plants in every direction.
The grow tents and stuff like that. All that stuff you would be able to buy at Costco, and I think that they see that.
Send it to the Gmail.
Yeah, and
I sent it to the Gmail. You got it?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, the thing is it doesn't. You know, they don't want to get into the marijuana industry. Not many people do. They want to get into the industries that sprout up because of it. It's a plant that sprouts many businesses.
Like they said during the gold rush, when there's a gold rush, it's a good time to be in the pick and shovel business.
Yep.
It sure was.
All right.
All right. Well, I think you should, if you can spread those websites out, we can maybe move that poll number up a bit.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, and we'll get that information out. Thanks for giving us a call. Appreciate that. And so check that out. Check out our polls that we got up at the Stash blog too, stash.norml.org. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll wind things up for the week and get you ready for the weekend. This is Norml Show Live.
Marijuana and alcohol are the two most popular recreational drugs in America. Marijuana smoking is non-toxic, relatively safe, and has a low risk of dependence. Alcohol drinking is potentially fatal, dangerous to society, and is quite addictive. Marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink? That's the question of the new book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? By Paul Armentano, Mason Tvert, and Steve Fox. Visit Amazon.com or ChelseaGreen.com today to order your copy of Marijuana is Safer, or visit MarijuanaIsSafer.com.
Kalo, you did this one out. That shit bring back memories. I like this black. This is forever music, you know.
The rope-a-dope, the backyard boogie. Rolling rope-a-dope, man, you know we ain't no rookies. Matter of fact, we some vets with that medicated THC smoke in our chest. The rope-a-dope, the backyard boogie. Rolling rope-a-dope, man, you know we ain't no rookies. Matter of fact, we some vets with that medicated THC smoke in our chest.
The rope-a-dope, the collard greens, the okra, the medical marijuana, one line smoke, the money longer than the anaconda cannabis blower, green grower, weed roller, tree choker, heat holder, street idol, hunting rifles and big barrels, hella titles, arch rivals and bow and arrows, bullseye like the barbecue sauce, knock a head off if I must, never been soft, put him in the dust. I'm a fucking boss, the only one I trust, never took a loss. There's money on my mind and my money won't quit. That's why I ride around with a 30-06. Up and down the half hustling, trying to get rich. In and out of Teddy with a bad bitch. Old school lock, souped up motor. Beating on my heart, smoking some rover.
The rope-a-dope, the backyard boogie. Rolling rope-a-dope, man, you know we ain't no rookies. Matter of fact, we some vets with that medicated THC smoke in our chest. The rope-a-dope, the backyard boogie. Rolling rope-a-dope, man, you know we ain't no rookies. Matter of fact, we some vets with that medicated THC smoke in our chest. I get high with a little help from my friends at the end of each month when I'm broke with no dividends. Patience is a virtue now that's flowing in the wind. It's like medicine to me, it makes me feel good all within. Watch the sway of the wrist as the record spins. My body's in a trance and my neck just swings. Slim dipping old school 75th. Medicated to the highest off the driest split. Motor switcher, let's play the switch. Back and forth and back to them old school zigs. Zags all pure now, you can taste it. 10-foot bong loads. To get wasted, go ahead, pack another bowl, roll another please.
Welcome back, everybody. That's Ignite.
So pleasing, taste so good.
Digging that tune. That's Backyard Boogie. Welcome back, and I want to thank our listener Steve there for calling in. We just found it during the break, the Costco Connection. You can go to CostcoConnection.com.
I can't wait for my magazine to arrive because I haven't gotten mine yet.
Yeah, it's on page 17 in the Costco Connection magazine. You can check it out right now. And pretty cool here. Let me pull this up on video. See if I can once again.
My favorite part about this is it has a little mouse and it says more on this online, and the first link is norml.org.
Yep. Loving that.
Thank you, Costco. Appreciate it.
All right, so here is the Costco Connection. Oh, I got to take the green screen off. All right. Come on now. There we go. All right, so this is the Costco Connection website. And this page 17. Should marijuana be legal? Yes, from members. Now, these are Costco members. Remember, Costco, for those who don't have Costco's, it's a warehouse thing. It's like a Sam's Club.
Sam's Club, yeah, is the other one.
Is the other one that's in America a lot.
Warehouse bulk.
I call it the $100 store.
Yeah,
you walk in there, you're spending $100.
Yeah, it's just happening.
I need 96 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah.
But yes, we got 3 members here. One says taking the criminality out of the equation will allow law enforcement to focus on real crime. Another says, seems we spend an awful lot of money trying to prevent its use. Maybe better to just legalize, regulate, and tax it. And another member who says, if it were legal, maybe it wouldn't be so cool to sneak and do anymore. Now, the no side comes from one who says, marijuana is not a harmless drug, no matter how many people say so. It still kills brain cells and literally makes you dumber. Literally makes you dumber.
Literally.
Literally. You know, after Carl Sagan smoked pot in the late 1950s, he never had another brilliant thought ever again.
Not once.
Because he got dumber. Imagine how smart he would have been had he not smoked pot. He'd have found the grand unified theory.
He probably could have beat death.
Could have beat death.
Yep.
And then the next person says, marijuana is still a drug and will just encourage more people to smoke it for the mere pleasure of stimulating the mind. Yeah, go have a beer.
Buy it at Costco.
Go buy it at Costco in freaking bulk. And then Tom Pribble of Blaine, Minnesota says, if it was supposed to be legal, it already would be.
Wow.
If women were supposed to vote, they'd already gotten a vote. If black people were supposed to be free, they'd already been free. Jeez. Oh, my God. All right. So, and then, yeah, find out more about this topic on the web. First link, norml.org.
Love it.
Love it. All right. And then as we scroll up, here's their thing on it. They say, should marijuana be legal? Although the use, sale, and possession of marijuana is still illegal under federal law, some states have recently created exceptions for medical use of marijuana, and a recent Gallup poll of Americans showed 50% support legalizing it completely. Supporters say that by legalizing what they describe as a useful and relatively harmless substance, we could reduce the profits of criminals, direct our law enforcement dollars to where they would do more good, and benefit from a new source of much-needed tax revenue. Critics counter that legalizing marijuana is bad public policy because the drug is addictive and poses significant health risks. They predict a variety of consequences if marijuana is legalized, including increased use by minors, additional drug trafficking by criminal syndicates, and an increase in crime. They say the social cost of legalizing marijuana will dwarf the meager taxes raised. My God, they just lined up Sabbath's argument. That's exactly Kevin Sabbath's argument.
Yeah.
All right, so we go over here to the side. It's got a long old thing here with Ethan Nadelman from Drug Policy Alliance, and making all the points that we make. Robert DuPont. Now he was the founder of the National Institutes of Drug Abuse, and well, we could talk a whole show on the DuPont links.
Yeah.
To all this stuff. Now here's once again, and I love it because he's going to make all of Sabbath's arguments for me. It's so wonderful. All right, he says, marijuana legalization by states is not a solution to their financial problems. The $14 billion now collected in state and federal alcohol revenue is outweighed by the $235 billion in social costs. Similarly, tobacco yields $25 billion in taxes and $200 billion in social costs. Wow, that would really frighten me if pot were alcohol or tobacco. Jesus.
It's not even on the same scale as those two drugs.
Yeah, because alcohol and tobacco are toxic and addictive. So it is ridiculous to say, well, alcohol and tobacco cost much more than the taxes we make, because alcohol and tobacco cost much more, period, in the harms they do to society. What you'll never hear in this part of the argument is their estimate of what the social costs of marijuana are now. Because really, it's quite a simple equation. We are taking in zero in tax dollars now, and we are spending X in social costs, whatever that is, plus Y in law enforcement costs, right? So 0 in revenue plus X in costs plus Y in enforcement. Now, if we legalize, we bring in revenue. Some estimates as much as $14 billion, some up to $30-40 billion a year in revenues. We eliminate a large part of Y, the enforcement costs. Therefore, the cost X would have to be greater than the $40 billion, $30 billion, or $14.1 billion that we bring in the revenues, plus whatever the Y is in the enforcement costs. They actually took a look at this in Canada. They did a study on this, and they found that the people who drank alcohol on a per drinker basis cost the country of Canada $165 in costs. One drinker equals $165 social cost in Canada.
Annually. Yeah.
One smoker of tobacco costs $800 annually in Canada. One cannabis consumer costs annually $20. That was the per user cost in Canada in this study, right? So alcohol $165, tobacco $800, cannabis $20. Now, the cost in enforcing those laws in Canada was $154 per user of alcohol. So you were spending $154 to save $165 of costs. Okay, makes sense. The cost of enforcement in Canada per tobacco user is virtually zero, because you don't really have to do much in tobacco enforcement. Not like you have tobacco patrols and tobacco DUIs and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much tobacco is just carding people. So zero cost to save $800 in social cost. The cost of per Canadian pot smoker to enforce Canadian pot laws was $324. $324 to save 20. That's what there doesn't make sense. So I'm so glad that that's in there, because that's just the stupidest argument. Another stupid argument here. Legalization will not stop the drug cartels. If marijuana were legalized, they would continue to make billions from other drugs. You know, if we legalized marijuana and took away all that business from them, well, they'd still do other business. Well, yeah, I suppose they would. But they wouldn't be doing marijuana business anymore, now would they? And there are some estimates down there for Mexico saying that 60% of their income is derived from marijuana business. You hurt any businessman by taking 60% of his income away. And in this case, we're talking about businessmen who like to buy automatic weapons, behead people, put drills to their temples and their kneecaps, and hang them headless from bridges under banners taunting the police. Yeah, let's take away 60% of their income. Let's do that. I think that's a good idea. And the other thing this depends on is thinking that, oh, well, if we legalize marijuana, why, they'll just go do other drugs. They'll sell other drugs. They'll traffic in meth. They'll traffic in coke. Well, yeah, I imagine they will. I don't know who they're going to sell it to, because all of us getting the pot, we're not going to be buying it. It'll make no sense. Drug warriors. Anyway, if you go to this website, Costco Connection, there is a vote on the side. Click here to vote. I'm going to go do that. Let's see how the vote's turning out. Should marijuana be legal? I'm going to say yes, John.
I said yes.
Okay, let's submit.
I voted.
Submit and see the results.
Wow.
87.4% of the voters on the Costco survey think marijuana should be legal. Thank you for participating in our survey. All right, folks, that's it. I'm Radical Russ, and he's Ganja John, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Live it like it's legal, everybody.
We're going to call it a day. Stay tuned later. I'll be here live with Herb Thrasher for Norml Rocks. A couple of great shows coming up next. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers. Really?
A glimpse of this, of a finality, short wings.